Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying your holiday wherever you may be. We had a short break in the New Forest, and when I got back, I found that I had a huge amount of laundry to catch up on. So that is what I've spent my week doing. And there was one day that I got through, I think, about 6 loads of laundry. I felt very, very proud of myself until I got to the end. And of course, what happened when I got to the end? This is what I was left with. Odd socks. They don't match. I know it's not just me, I've discussed this with lots of people before. A lot of people have an odd sock collection and we all do different things with it. It's almost the universal equalizer. Everyone suffers from odd socks. Some people keep them in a drawer, some people keep them in a bag. Everyone's got their system for dealing with odd socks. Now I think about my odd socks a lot, and some of you watching this are going to laugh because you know that I've spoken to you about odd socks before. Now, I've got a whole new take on odd socks now. So firstly, these guys who are left behind, we call them the odd socks, but actually they're the ones who have stayed here. And we try to make them as comfortable as we can. We give them a home, whether it's a drawer or a bag, and we hold on to them in the hope that one day their partner will return and they will no longer be odd. But now let's just focus on the ones who have actually vanished, the ones who have left home. Sometimes it's permanent, sometimes they turn up again later, and we often wonder where they've gone to. But for today, I want to address a different issue of why did they leave to begin with? What was making them so miserable in my house? I've got a nice house, I've got a nice family, we look after them, we wash them. I mean, what more could they possibly want? Why did they want to leave? So that brings me to this week's Sedra. This week's Sedra is Seitzei, and we're spoken to about a wayward and rebellious son, the Ben Sora Umoer. Thank you, Rabbi Artscroll, for that very user-friendly translation. Wayward? I don't know. Rebellious, I get. Okay, so he's a rebellious son, and his parents, finally, they kind of give up on him, and they have to bring him to the elders, and they basically dob him in. They say he is rebellious, we don't know what to do with him anymore, he doesn't listen to anything we say, over to you now. And they need to investigate, and there needs to be witnesses, and eventually what happens is they decide he's a lost cause and they need to stone him to death. I know, it sounds pretty harsh, and it's his own parents who dob him in. But I was wondering, why is he a wayward and rebellious son? Why isn't he just a wayward and rebellious person? Why is it the focus on the parent-child relationship? Why is it the parent that have to bring him in? And why is he referred to as a son? And actually, a lot of the commentaries say that this whole situation of having a wayward and rebellious son is actually purely hypothetical. It never actually happened. There was never a case where this got to the end point where actually the community stoned him. It's really an imaginary situation. And why do we talk about him as a son? So this is just my take on it. I'm thinking maybe he's seen by his parents as being wayward and rebellious. He doesn't listen to them. He's not the same as them. And they take this personally. They think it's a rebellion against religion, against Judaism, against God, because he is not doing what they are doing. He is living his life differently to how they are living it. Now, maybe there's a reason for this. Maybe there were comparisons made. Maybe people said to him, you look just like your father. Big sock, little sock. You're going to turn out just like him. I'm sure you're a big Talmud Chacham, just like your father. I'm sure you're as intelligent, charismatic, or maybe he's not those things. Maybe they say, why aren't you just like your father? Or maybe he's one of a big family, and they come in different shapes and sizes, or colours in this case, but you can tell they're all related, and again, comparisons are made. I'm sure you're just like your older brother, he does so well in school, or why aren't you just like your sister, we never have any problems with her, or why couldn't you just be a bit more, helpful around the house like your little brother is. You know, it's hard to be part of the family and still feel like an individual. So maybe that is why he rebelled, or he left home, or that's why my socks have left, or maybe he really is the odd sock. He just feels like he doesn't fit in, nobody gets him, he's not like the rest of his family, and he doesn't understand why, and he doesn't know how to become like them, or maybe he doesn't want to be like them. He just feels like this isn't for him. And but when it comes to it, he decides he's not going to be like they are. He's not going to try and fit in. He's going to do his own thing. And, you know, as parents, we find this really, really difficult. You bring your child up and you put all this into them in the hope that, you know, they love what you stand for and they love the home you've brought them up in. And you would like them to have a similar home to you. And if they choose to have a different kind of home to you as an adult, we take that quite personally. You know, we see it as a rebellion against us and what we stand for. But let me put this question to you. You've got lots of different relationships in your life. You know, you've got your children, you've got your siblings, you've got your parents, you've got your friends, you've got your work colleagues. They all have a relationship with you, with the same person. And yet not one of those relationships is the same. They're all completely different. How can we possibly think that an infinite being like God is going to have the same relationship with everyone that has a relationship with him? Of course, people are going to relate to him in different ways. And that is the beauty of Judaism, because it's a blend. It's not just a science and it's not just an art, it's both. It's a science in that there's a framework, there are rules, there are fundamental principles, and you need to fit within that framework. That's the science to it. But the art is making a life within those rules and working out, how do you fit in? And there's a beauty to that. Everyone's going to find a different way of doing that, a different way of connecting, and it's got to be real. It's got to be a way that works for them. And there's not going to be any two people that find the identical way. And there isn't one correct way of doing it. So if your child has decided to actually think about why he's doing, or she is doing what she's doing, and actually steps back a moment and thinks, am I just doing this parrot fashion? Am I just copying what I've been brought up with? Or am I actually going to take the time to think about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and work out for me the best way of doing it? That is a very positive thing. It's not just okay, it's more than okay. It's okay to do that, and it's a positive thing to do that. We want our children to be thinking adults and to work out what Judaism means to them and how to incorporate it into their life, to have a real and meaningful relationship with Hashem. And yes, it might look slightly different to ours, it might look completely different to ours, but that is actually the hope. It's not, it shouldn't be, it can be a painful thing, but it doesn't have to be a painful thing if they end up different. We should support the fact that they've taken the time to actually think about what they're doing and to come up with something that works for them, that's meaningful for them. And you know, sometimes it will be that they take a step away and then they come back and they end up agreeing with you entirely and living a very similar lifestyle to you. But because they've taken the time away to think about why they're doing it, and they actually come to similar conclusions to you. And that is actually what happened in my house this week. This very odd sock, which has been sitting in my odd sock collection for about 2 years, finally I opened a drawer that I didn't even look in for those 2 years, and I found the missing sock. And it's a pair, and it's come home. So it was all a bit emotional. And sometimes that's what happens. And it's very exciting when it does. But even if that's not exactly what happens, and your odd socks make their own life for themselves, but they're happy and they're fulfilled, then that's also okay. Have a good week and a good Shabbos.